Okay, so a lot of times we have a hard time understanding. Hashem says in the Torah that if a person he keeps the Torah, he keeps the mitzvot, that Hashem's going to give him a lot of good things. He's going to have a good world in this world also. We know that a person he keeps Torah, keeps mitzvot, he's going to get a good life. Olam hazeh, not just Olam haba. Where does it say that in the Torah? In the Shema. If you're going to keep my mitzvot, I'm going to give you reward. I'm going to give you good land, good field. Your animals will have a lot of grass. All the beracha. And we see that there's people who they keep Torah, they keep the mitzvot, and their lives are not better.
Yeah.
And then you have people who are not keeping the Torah, not keeping the mitzvot.
Their lives look amazing.
Their lives look amazing. This is the hardest question of the Torah to answer. The hardest question on the Torah, on Judaism is, why is Sadiq veralo, Rasha vetovlo? Why is it Sadiq, he has bad things happening to him in his life, and a Rasha has good things happening to him in his life? This is the hardest question on Judaism. And the truth is, there's many answers to this question. There's many answers to this question. The simplest answer is that the tzaddik is going to get a good life in the next world. That your days will become long is talking about in the next world. Because you have a big problem. Respect your father, respect your mother, and you'll have a long life. Or if a person he does shiluach haken, he's promised to have a long life. By the way, somebody who wants to get married and needs a segulah to get married, one of the most powerful segulot to get married is to do the mitzvah of shiluach haken. If you send away the mother bird, then you're promised that you're going to have arichut yamim, and you're promised that you're going to have kids. How you have arichut yamim? Through having children, right? So what do people do? There's a special gemach. There's a gemach for shiluach haken. You can look it up in the phone book. There's special gemach for shiluach haken. You call them up, you wait in line, and they tell you when to come to do the mitzvah shiluach haken. One of the biggest segulot that you could do in your life is shiluach haken. You ever did shiluach haken? You ever did shiluach haken?
I did it with my dad. I did my dad died.
One of the biggest segulot, the biggest schar in the world is shiluach haken. Now we know that today is Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes, his yortzeit. Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes had a rabbi who went off the derech. What was the rabbi's name? Elisha ben Avuya. Elisha ben Avuya, why did he go off the derech? What happened? That's one part of the story. That there were 4 tzaddikim that went up to went up to the Pardes, and they had questions. Some of them they didn't survive. There's things that you can't understand there. The only one who came out okay was Rabbi Akiva. You had Ben Zoma ben Azai. Afterwards they couldn't stay married or they lost their mind. And then you had the other one was Aher, Elisha ben Avuya. Now to be the Rabbi of Rabbi Meir, you know what that means? Every time in the Gemara, every time in the Mishnah, but it doesn't say who's the Tana. Who is it? Rabbi Meir. Who was Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes' rabbi? Elisha ben Avuya. Elisha ben Avuya was Aher. What was the story of Elisha ben Avuya? One of the big problems with Elisha ben Avuya was he went up to Shamayim and he saw over there that there was an angel sitting down. And he thought that this angel was God. He said, well, Hashem's sitting down, doesn't understand. He didn't understand the Pardes. He went up to the Shamayim in his soul and he didn't understand. He was the deepest level of Torah. Imagine that all the Torah that we have has in it some of the Torah of Elisha ben Avuya. And what happened? What was the biggest question he had? Sadiq veralo, Rasha vetovlo. Where he sees that there's somebody who is going to do the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen, he goes up on the tree to do Shiluach HaKen, or his father tells him, go bring me down some fruit. He goes and he brings down fruit for his father. The pasuk says, Kaved avicha v'timecha, l'man yerichun yamecha. If you respect your parents, you're going to have long life. This guy went up on the tree to get his father the fruit. He fell off of the tree and died. He was sitting in Perot Genosar. He was sitting in the Genosar farm. He was seeing beautiful fruits, and he's sitting and learning Torah, and he sees while he's learning Torah, this guy went up on the ladder to bring down the fruit, and he died. This is the biggest question on God. Sadiq verado.
I feel like it wouldn't be free will if everybody who was attending.
100%. So one of the explanations is, why do the bad things happen to good people? Because really, you can't get the reward for a mitzvah in the Olam Hazeh. And therefore, since you don't have a chance to get a mitzvah in Olam Hazeh, you can't get the reward. You know why? Because imagine you have $1 million check. You go to the supermarket, to the guy across the street, you say, here, I want to buy with this $1 million check a piece of chewed bubble gum, half a piece of bubble gum. I can't cash it in. So all the reward of this world is not able to pay off for a mitzvah that a person does. You understand this? So really, when it says "L'man yerichun yamecha," you mean olam haba. What does it mean? It doesn't mean maybe this world. The problem is that the Psukim clearly tell us that there's a reward for a person in this world alone. And this is a big problem on our religion. The answer that Arizal gives is that there's a concept of Gilgulim. There are things that happen to people have to do with their Gilgulim. You know the story of the Gilgulim?
Reincarnation.
There was once a man that came to the Arizal to Tzfat. He was already 40 years old, wasn't married. Famous story. And he said, Rabbi, I don't have a shidduch. The rabbi says, you know your shidduch, she's in the land of Mitzrayim in Alexandria. Go down to Alexandria, you'll find your shidduch there. He goes down to Alexandria to find the shidduch. He tells him, the rabbi tells him that the shidduch that you have, she's in Alexandria, and she is her father is very wealthy, daughter of a rich man, beautiful girl, 20 years old. He goes down to Mitzrayim to Alexandria, but oh and behold, not long after he's in Alexandria, somebody comes to him to tell him, we have for you a shidduch. What's a shidduch? He said, the daughter of this rich man, she's 20 years old. This man, a very rich man, daughter 20 years old, beautiful girl, it's good for you. He says, okay, starts to date her, they fall in love. The girl wants to marry him. He can't believe it. He's 40 and she's 20. Young, she has extra mileage. Right? And she's wealthy and she's cute. What is he missing? And she does good, she does hesed, you know, that's what they have. Calm, cute, cheerful. That's all the girls that they think they have to do in order to be a good wife.
Okay.
By the way, the Pele Yoetz tells us that when a girl looks for a boy, you should never look to see if the boy has money. Never because of money marry or break a shidduch. Never. Because money comes and money goes. Money never stays. He says that you want to make sure that the Hatan, he has the ma'ala that he's modest. Like Rahel, the wife of Rabbi Akiva, how did she know to marry him? She had all the shidduchim possible she could have married. And the whole market of all the biggest Talmidei Hachamim, the greatest rabbis, her father could have been able to buy any Talmidei Hacham. She dated them all. And you know what she wanted? Rabbi Akiva. The man was a shepherd, 40 years old, Am Haaretz, divorced man with a child. His child was Rabbi Yeshua ben Korha. So why did she want to marry him? You know why? You know why? Because two things. Sanua umali. He was modest, and he also had good midot. Were these two things the only reason why you want to marry a girl? You also want to make sure, this is the number one thing to see the good midot. Number two thing you want to find out about the shidduch is, does this boy have a rabbi? Does this boy have a rabbi? If the boy doesn't have a rabbi, don't let your daughter, your sister, anybody you care about marry this man. She will suffer her whole life. because he doesn't have a rabbi. A whole life suffering because there's no rabbi. But here, Rabbi Akiva gets married, and the story of the Arizal is that this guy goes down to Alexandria of Egypt. He marries the girl. They bring a very, very big amount to the wedding to go into this marriage. And that's how he starts off his life. New life. He's so happy, the happiest man. He has a year of tremendous pleasure. She gives him everything he wants. She makes him the best meals. She treats him like a king. And he's the happiest man. Until what happens one day, she gets very sick and dies suddenly. And he's so broken about it, he goes all the way back to Sfat, to the Arizal, to cry and say, how could it be that this happened to me? How could it be that the shidduch, that I thought you made it for me, you told me it was my shidduch. In the end, she died after a year. I'd rather not have married her to begin with even. It was the best year of my life, but the Arizal explained to him, let me explain to you something. You don't even know what's going on here. Tell me something, mister. 20 years ago, what were you doing? He said, 20 years ago, I had a big bakery that I was partnership with somebody. He said, and what happened with that partnership? He said, the guy cheated me a very big amount of money. He said, it was the worst year of my life. Destroyed my finances. I worked so hard to build this up. The guy cheated me, and I never got this guy paid back. And not long after that, the guy died. And I was broken from the story. He says, you don't understand. How much money did the guy cheat you? He says, I know exactly how much he cheated me. He said, and how much was the amount that you got for the kidduva, that you got for this marriage? When you married this girl? He says, wow, that's exactly the same amount of money that the guy cheated me. He says, this girl was the gilgul of the guy who cheated you. His neshama needed to come back for a tikkun and to give you back na'at ruach. And therefore, 20 years you couldn't find the shidduch, because this soul had to come back to this world to give you hana'ah, to give you pleasure, amount of pain that you had from him, and to also give you money for the amount of money that he took from you. Now that this happened, now you're past that, now you go get married to your real shidduch. Which comes to show you here that there's something that happens with people that we don't understand. It's gilgulim. There's all types of cheshbonot and shamayim. So when you want to know the question, Sadiq ve'ral or Rasha ve'tovlo, one of the easiest answers is past gilgul. The guy has great reward because in his last gilgul this is what he did, or he has horrible punishment because last gilgul what he did wrong. So this is one of the answers, Sadiq ve'ralo, why bad things happen to good people and good things, even though Hashem is the judge. Another explanation of why the good people have bad things happening to them is because a good person and a bad person is all relative. A person is expected to do what he could do. There are tzaddikim that could do much more. Imagine Rabbi Lanyado, he would have just sat in Kolel his whole life. And then he comes to the Shana after 120 years, and he sees, wow, Kolel guy, his kids all simple Tamid Achamim, like this, Yeshiva guys. They said, what do you mean? You know what you could have done? You could have done this yeshiva. You know how many 1,000 boys went to live out on doors and got close to Hashem Yitbarach because of your yeshiva. You could have done much more. You held responsible because you could have done more. When it comes to also, there's people who are reshaim, but they couldn't do better. Paro couldn't do much better. He was held accountable because he was a little bit too tough, but he was supposed to make them go through slavery. So there are people who are reshaim, that they are acting the way that they're supposed to. That's naturally how they are. So a person is judged according to what he could do, and sometimes a person could do better. These are all coming to answer you some of the answers of why Hashem's ways, Sadiq ve'ralo, Rasha ve'tovlo. Sadiq, and a lot of times we don't even know what's Ra. We don't even know what's Tov. Hey, you said it was Sadiq. Maybe the guy's not Sadiq. He could have been Rabbi Lanyado. What was he? He was just a guy, a Kolel guy. You have a guy who opens a yeshiva and he destroys students, and he's trying to do Superman because his father told him he could be a great yeshiva and he couldn't be. He didn't listen to his rabbi. He opened the yeshiva because he wanted whatever he wanted. Fame, honor, respect. He wanted to marry people. He wanted to have... And you know what he does? He destroys students. Once you take a kid into yeshiva, it's so complicated to throw the boy out. And he goes and he steps on boys. You know, the answer is why rabbis have to go fundraise and leave their homes. You know why? Because we know that it's somebody who kills beshogeg, he's hayav galut. He has to go to exile. And therefore, sometimes you have Rosh Hashivas that they're killing their students because they embarrass them publicly or because they don't treat them with the right respect. And then these rabbis have to go fundraising as galut, they have to travel. Like the guy who kills beshogeg has to travel and go to the Ir Miklat, so to the rabbis and this has to get punished. Kapara. So when we don't understand why people go through what they go through, it's because Hashem has Heshbonot Shamayim. Elisha did not understand Hashem's Heshbonot. He didn't understand it. And he went off the derech because of it. Rabbi Meir took the Torah of his rabbi and he said, I'm only going to take the Torah and throw away everything else. He went off very far off the derech. He wanted to sleep with a prostitute. She says, but you're the great Rabbi of Meir. He said, I'm not Rabbi Meir, I'm Aher. I'm somebody else. Elisha. He said, I'm not Elisha, Rabbi Meir's Rabbi. I'm somebody else. He said, what are you talking about? It was he gets off the horse, he picks up off the ground, he pulls out on Shabbat from the ground, something Mahalil Shabbat from the Torah, he pulls it off from the ground. A lot of people in the community, they say you're allowed to play ball on Shabbat. They rely that ball's not mukseh. Big hidush to say that. A big hidush to say that ball's not mukseh. So one thing is they'll say the ball's not mukseh. You know why? Because the ball that says in the Shulchan Aruch that it's mukseh is only the ball that was factory made in the olden days. It didn't have a name of a kli. But the ball that we have nowadays is a multi-billion-dollar industry where they have companies and industries and factories, they make the ball a specific way. Maybe they consider balls not mukseh. Let's say balls not mukseh, and let's say you can rely on the eruv. And then they're playing the ball on Shabbat, and let's say they're not considered like they're running. That, all those things could be maybe derabanans. But you know what the problem is? Sometimes these guys, they're playing this tennis or whatever, and they have to go sweep the floor. You know what I'm talking about? They sweep the floor? And if they're sweeping the floor, that could be Mahalel Shabbat from the Torah. Because you're making the floor smooth, you're covering over holes. It could be Mahalel Shabbat from the Torah. You have to know. You have to know. It could be the guy who's in a Tesla. It could be he was not Mahalel Shabbat from the Torah. Because it could be there's no fire. Electric of LEDs could be Derabanan. Or it could be guys on his phone, it could be Derabanan. Unless he plugs it into the wall, it could be Doraita. He takes it out of the wall Doraita, but it could be that just plug, it could be, we don't know, I'm not going to say that you can rely on this. I'm saying if it happens, it could be that it's not real Chol Shabbat, like lighting a fire. So you have to know everything, the type of car, the type of phone, the type of thing. But when it comes to playing this tennis and he's going to sweep the floor, little thing. A little thing you just plug it into the wall. Oh, now it's Doraita, you plugged it into the wall. You made a circuit, you plugged it in, now you're having problems. Little things. Elisha ben Avuya, he pulls out of the ground on Shabbat and he says, no, look at this. I'm not Rabbi Meir's rabbi, Elisha. Unbelievable story. He was going on his donkey outside of the Kodesh HaKodeshim on Yom Kippur, that was Shabbat, and he heard from the voice coming out of the Kodesh HaKodeshim saying, everybody could do teshuvah except for Aher. Only one who can't do teshuvah. Him. Except for Elisha ben Avuya. And that's why he thought he can never do teshuvah. And Rabbi Meir kept on telling him, no, you could do teshuvah. And Rabbi Meir prayed for him. And then there were signs after Elisha ben Avuya died that his teshuvah actually went through. Now it really started, how did they start seeing that he was going off the derech? They started seeing he was going off the derech because they found that out of his pocket was falling out books of Greek wisdom. One of the first things that happen when somebody goes off the derech, he starts to read books that are not appropriate. He starts to watch things that aren't appropriate, and he starts getting new ideas. They saw that there were books of Yevanim coming out of his pocket. They saw also that Elisha ben Avuya also, he would go into the Beit Midrash and tell rabbis, he would tell them, what do you think you're gaining for your lives when you're being in the Beit Midrash learning? You're not going to learn how to do a doctor, lawyer, accountant. There's no rabbi jobs for you. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. You have to go make parnasah for your family. This is called apikoros. Somebody who comes to a Talmid Hacham and tells him that your Torah is not doing anything for anybody is api koros. That's what happened to him. From what it happened to? From one question. Sadiq veralo, Rasha v'tovlo. How could it be that Sadiq has bad things happening to him and Rasha has good things happening to him? But the way that the world works is the exact opposite than it looks to us. You could have a great rabbi like Rav Hanina ben Dosa. Hanina beni, the whole world, the Gemara tells us, was able to be having the goodness of the world because of one Sadiq that he would himself only eat a piece of carob from week to week. He himself is enjoying one carob and the whole world is getting in the pipeline of the zechut of this guy. How could it make sense? The guys in the Midrash, the guys in the Kollel, and the other people looks like they make all the money like driving fancy cars, private jets, all that stuff. What happened? How does it make sense? The answer is that Hashem needs a pipeline in order to bring the barakah to the world. That pipeline is what? Torah and tefillah. When a person learns Torah, he's able to make the pipeline to Hashem. When a person says Baruch, Baruch means you're sourcing this. Doesn't mean Hashem is blessed. It means that Hashem, you're the source of the goodness. You're sourcing the goodness, connecting the pipeline of the barakah through your barakah, through the Torah, through the tefillah. You know, the whole Torah, the entire Sefer Torah, every top of the block of text, look and check it. On the top right is the letter Vav. It's unbelievable. Every top of text of the block of the Sefer Torah is a letter Vav, except for 6 places, and those letters in those 6 places, Beka, Shemo, Bet, and then Yud, and then Hey, Shin, Mem, and then Vav. Otherwise, the whole Torah, Vav at the top of the text. Why? What's the significance? The Vav at the top of the text is there to say and. Whenever you have Vav, it's connector. And the whole Torah, what is it doing? It's connecting this world and up to Shamayim. That's the whole purpose of Torah, is that we're not just living in a disconnected world from the Shamayim. And specifically our Torah and Mitzvot is bringing down the Shefa. And specifically, that's what I mean to say, that the whole world is Nizon Bishvil Hanina Beni. For Hanina, what is Bishvil? Shvil means a path. It means in the pipe of Hanina. And that's why a person should always say, L'olam Yomar Adam Bishvilin Nivra Olam. A person should always say that in my pipe the world is created. It's dependent on your Torah if your family in the back in America is going to have barakah. People, they say, what am I doing here leaving my family? You don't understand. All the barakah of your families is dependent, and all the tefillah of your family community is dependent on the Torah of Eretz Yisrael, on the tefillah of Eretz Yisrael. So you feel like, what am I doing? No, you're here, you're the powerhouse. They don't see it, they don't see the pipelines. You're the powerhouse here. Bishvili nivra olam, in my pathway, in my tube, the world is created. Baruch Amen, Amen.